Okay, I think my video just turned off there. So Kronos is linked to Saturn. So Saturn is a massive, massive celestial body that I don't really cover that much. But the interesting thing about Saturn is it has a massive energy force. So things crash into it and have done for a very long time. And that's how these rings, these 20-kilometer thick rings that we can actually see here from Earth, we can see those rings hold a record of all the meteors and other planetary systems that have crashed into Saturn. So that ring system around Saturn holds a record since the formation of the planet. And that is the message in that card, is that the Akashic gateway is a memory. It's a memory bank. And we also have a memory bank around the Earth, like an Earth Soul aura. I like to think that it's connected to the number 6. So the number 6 is the number for Earth Soul, and so that after 6 it goes into higher dimensions. 7, 8 and 9 are higher vibrations, higher than the earthly plane. So, okay, so I've got double confirmation on the Judgment card. I got the Judgment card out of this deck as well, except this one's came in upside down. So the Queen's Favour in the Goblin Market Tarot is Judgment. Number 2. So the number 2 is a very simplistic energy. It's the spark of inspiration. There's something about looking at the Akashic energy field that is very, very new for us here on Earth. Like, we really don't know much about it. And one's in reverse, so I'll have a look as to why that would be. Okay, so on the gravity door of perception, I've got the journey. So it implies that if you want to access the Akashic gateway and deepen self-knowledge, you have to go on a shamanic journey. There's no other way of doing it. So I'm just going to get some protagonists. That one, the secret way. So that's a number 2 as well, the secret way. All right, so I'm getting an overwhelming number 2 energy there. I've got triple 2 there, and another 2. I've got quadruple 2. That's 4 2s there. So I've got 2 other ones there. I can't remember which way that was. I'll have to look back. But I've also got Celebrate Abundance, the Fairy Switch, and this Seahorse Spirit, which is pairing up for life, came out. And I've also got Lord of Pentacles here, so I'm not really sure where that's going, to be honest. And I've got some feminine energy on the bottom, and that's Feminine, the Enchantress. All right, so I'm going to take a protagonist. I'm going to just see, I can't read all of them, so I'm just going to take a protagonist. What needs to be here on the table for my subscribers? What do I need to show them? So I'm just feeling like, just to show you the staff. So the staff is something that a magician or a walker or someone with elementary earthly powers like a druid would hold, but they themselves give the staff power. The stick, the staff, does not have power unless you give it power. So in the Aboriginal tradition here in Australia, there's a judgment when someone is judged with they have their own system of judgment here. They have their own law, and it's about to go legal. So congratulations to them, because I think the referendum will be an overwhelming yes. But they actually throw a stick into someone's leg, and they actually believe that if they get the stick pointed at them, they die. And it's a belief system, and they're really terrified of it. So The 8th dimension Akashic gateway only has power if you give it. So somebody who has a lot of experience with this is called Matthias de Stefano. And I'm going to put a link to his latest interview, which he does actually talk about. He does actually talk about the dimensions. And he's the only person that's publicly admitting that he has accessed the 8th dimension. So that is access to your past lives. And a lot of people are saying, you know, do you really want to know what you did in your past lives? That is the danger of it. That is why it is the ultimate journey. So to get there, it looks like that you've got to give it power. You've got to give it power, and you've got to be in the flow. You're not going to be able to access these records unless you're in the flow of the universe. So standing in the number 9 energy, and that you give this dimension power. It's also a completely different time. So the 8th dimension is in a different time eternal. So when we look at the Judgment card, it is about when you're ready to look at things. So known as the Judgment in traditional tarot, the Queen's Favour. It is called the Queen's Favour in this deck, and the Fairy Queen willingly gives when asked. Her judgment, absolute and unchanging. What she says may shift the balance of any previous intentional act. So I think this is about you taking stock of your own life. Who am I? You know, how have I served? Have I served the universe in my life? That's some pretty deep questioning there. So the Queen's position here, one hand up, one hand low, suggests her ability to understand matters brought to her attention in both the above ground world, inhabited by humans, and in the below ground world of goblins and fairies. So this card appears in a reading. It generally stands for a call to rise from our current state of being to prepare for change. In the fairy realm, all seems eternal and unchanging, but in reality, currents of change are ever present, even there, albeit less clearly observable than in our own world. Alright, so some people will see this card as referring to a judgmental figure organisation that has power over them. Others will see it as the need to engage in their own inner judge, setting out pros and cons of the situation in order to decide for themselves on appropriate action. Alright, so in general, the Queen's Favour suggests the need for change. Just how radical will depend on the nature of the issue. Alright, so the first stage of the 8th dimension Akashic gateway is actually deciding whether or not you're ready. Are you ready for this information? That is what I'm getting from this. Are you ready? Are you strong enough? Are you standing in this Lord of Crowns energy so that you can accept the information that could be downloaded? And this is a number 2 as well. So I'm getting an overwhelmed 2 vibration here. I've got 5 2s here. Alright, so we'll take one more. Celebrate abundance. Interesting. I'm not sure how that quite fits in, but... Alright, so it's an abundance of information, and it is going to blow your mind. That's what I'm feeling. It will flow to you if you can get past the inner judgment. You need to go into other states of consciousness and journey. I'm hearing beyond the rainbow, in a sweat lodge perhaps, beyond the rainbow. And this is gonna scare this. I'm feeling like this is gonna scare the crap out of you. That's what I'm hearing. But it's just an abundance of information, so it will actually change your perspective on what abundance actually is. So 5 2s here. Alright, so I'm going to get some clarifiers. So yeah, this is a journey that you may not be ready for. That's what I'm hearing. And so this is a question. The universe is asking you, are you ready? 10 of Pentacles. Are you ready to receive this growth because of this download? Are you ready for it? That's what I'm feeling like. Are you ready for the abundance of this information? So 10 of Pentacles is all the knowledge, you know. So it could be overload. That's what I'm feeling like. It could be overload. Alright, so let's just take a different angle on this. This is not easy to describe, this energy. But I'm gonna grab one from here and one from here. Alright, so I have pre-shuffled these ones. Alright, so I've just had... Oh, that's too many. Yeah. Let's just do one more shuffle. Ah! 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups and the 10. Alright, so what I'm getting from this is that there's going to be such an abundance that you will reassess who you are. That's what I'm getting. So 10 denotes to 1. 10 will send you right back to the drawing board emotionally and question your growth in this time, in this dimension. So this is going to... the reason why it's so difficult to do this journey is that most people aren't ready. That's what I'm getting from this. Alright, so that is why people don't move towards this. It's too much. You have to rein in your own energy. You have to assimilate with the energy of a different time space, and you have to be really strong emotionally. That is why most people don't do this journey. All right, that is why most people do not do this journey. I'm just gonna pick one more from here and just fairy switch. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with the fairy switch. Number 8. So 8's about change. Yeah, you have to be willing to change to incorporate this journey. Yeah, you have to be willing to change to go on this journey to the 8th dimension. You have to be willing to do the work. You have to be open to the flow of abundance, the growth. I'm getting growth and emotional abundance, and you have to align your power. You have to actually give your power to the 8th dimension. You have to give it power, and it's in a different time space continuum. So you may not come back, is what I'm hearing. You may not come back. That's why people talk about it like it's witchery and stuff like that, or like it's shaman's journey, because it is. Basically it is a shaman's journey, and it's not for the faint-hearted. So it is about changing yourself and aligning yourself to this energy. So it's about balance, virtuousness, justice for all, harmony, fairness, honor, law. Okay, so basically you have to be the sort of person that is fair and just, and a lot of us have not reached that vibration in this lifetime. The fairy switch is an ancient symbol of fairy control used on humans and rebellious goblins. It is portrayed as a branch bearing fruit or leaves, or as a staff. Oh, staff again. Yeah. Staff again. Or as a simple strip of bark. Alright? So it's something about this staff. In the hands of a fairy, it can bring complete thraldom of the one at which it is pointed or who is touched by it. Okay, so that's what I said about the Aboriginal tradition. It's about having the stick pointed at you. Okay, so what I'm getting from this, and I'm not going to take it any further at this stage. So even though the fairy switch can bring cessation of movement, transform people into animals, or take away their senses, the switch is the probable origin of the magical fairy wand. Beloved of pantomime tradition, its power may derive from the yellow chameleon flower, which is said to be planted by fairy people and have the capacity to cause changes. So here we see the fairy switch being used to curtail the bad behaviour of a misbehaving goblin. This is how justice, the name for this card in traditional tarot, is meted out in fairy, to bring balance to seekers who come to the market in search of wisdom and truth. Alright, so it's about sense of justice. All right. So in order to access the records, you have to have a fairness of power. You have to have an understanding of power. There's a saying, if you want to know somebody's true character, don't give them money, give them power. All right, so this is why a lot of people can't access this dimension, is because they don't understand about power. And the fairy switch, the staff, and the Aboriginal pointing stick is all about giving something power and having the ability to believe so strongly and deeply. All right, so we don't really understand what the 8th dimension is, so we're not giving it power. We're not giving it power, so that's why we can't access it. So apart from, unless you know, someone like Matthias de Stefano. So I'll put a link to his video down there. It's well worth watching what he thinks. Now, he can remember his past lives up to 10,000 years ago. So that's a lot of information, and he's still a pretty normal person, so it takes a pretty special sort of person. Okay, so the crow inverted means that some of the information that will be downloaded will scare you. You may have been a murderous bastard in your previous life. Do you really want to know what you did to people? You've got to be ready for this. That's what I'm feeling. So that is the 8th dimension. I'll put a link in. I believe that the planet Saturn and Kronos from Greek mythology is linked to this. So I'll put links to that. I won't cover it here because there's someone else on the internet that does Greek mythology. Okay, so that concludes the Kabbalah energy balance. It's been pretty deep-seated, and I'll be uploading the 666 number of the beast with this. I may go into it a little bit more, and I'm just going to take a Trump card before I go. Trump not as in Donald, just Trump's as in off the cuff clarification. All right, so I'm just going to take my Gothic deck and just see. Okay, so I'm going to ask, should people fear the 8th dimension? I've got double clarification on the Chariot. Yeah, so this is really reining in your own energy and being at one in the flow. Yeah. So unless you're actually probably a shaman, you probably won't want to attempt this, or like a very, very experienced white witch, or energy healer, or a tarot reader with 20 years experience that's got a bit of spare time. Because I'm feeling like these downloads are going to sort of like put you out of action for, you know, possibly up to, you know, a month. Because you want to write it. Okay, so I've got that one sticking out like that. Okay, so that's the choice card. But I'm feeling like that you've got to have a lot of love in your heart before you can do something like this. So the snake represents transformation. You are going to have to transform as a person to access this realm. And I've got another 10 there on the bottom, the 10 of Pentacles, which I got out earlier. So 10 of Pentacles in reverse denotes to 1. That goes back to number 1. Most people aren't, what I'm hearing is most people aren't had enough growth here on earth. You might have to leave it for another lifetime if you're not a spiritual practitioner in this lifetime. But in saying that, I don't want to ward anyone off because it's pretty exciting stuff. So the 10 denoting to 1 means at the end of the day, it's about how you interact with your environment and how you feel about yourself. That is what's going to allow you to access this. You have to rein in your inner judgment here. You've got to rein it in. You've got to be a balanced person in order. And it looks like that you may have to repent, you know, to a certain extent of things that you've done that are not, you feel you're still holding a vibration. I'm feeling like you've got to let go of all the vibration of and stand in unconditional love in order to receive this download. And some of it's not going to be good news. You're going to get not going to get good news about some of your previous lifetimes, okay? So I'm going to leave it here. So that concludes the Kabbalah energy balance. I hope you've enjoyed this thick and juicy reading. I probably won't do this on a regular basis because, you know, this has been pretty tough on me to delve this deep. But I have enjoyed it. Is there anything else on the table that I need to clarify? Is there anything else on the table? Alright, so, oh, it's just said to just leave you something to think about, so that's okay. Alright, so we're just going to leave you something to think about. We're not going to go into it. Alright. Surrender to simplicity. Alright, so this really is about going on top of the holy mountain and letting go of all your earthly sins kind of energy. Okay, you're not going to be able to access it unless you release your baggage. Okay, so the fish, you know, basically the fish is a sign of wisdom, and you're going to have to become a lot more wise about what sort of knowledge you need in order to, so I've got the snake here, in order to transmute. So there's some level of transmutation into this energy. So I've got the snake and the fish. So that's all about flow, and I've got the flow card here too. I'm hearing that you've got to almost shapeshift into this energy. So, you know, basically chuck on a snorkel and go and swim with some whales kind of thing before you can really be at that level. All right. So yeah, we're not really in the vibration here on Earth doing our shopping at Woolies. We're not really here. We're not really get in that vibration in order to access these records. But in saying that, some people do dream about their past lives. But it's saying here, generally speaking, there's a lot of work to do. There's a shift in time. There's a shift in power. You've got to believe in the power of these records, and that these records circulate the Earth in what's an 8th dimension aura, very much like the comets and the fragments of dust and comets caught up in Saturn's rings. That's what I'm hearing. So there is a level of transmutation here into a flow state. It's almost like you've got to lose your body and become this translucent. Yeah. And there's an apple there. I think the apple came up in one of my other readings. So the apple is the hidden knowledge. In the Garden of Eden, they say it was an apple that was taken from the Garden of Eden, but it's also could be a fig as well. So an apple or a fig, whichever story you believe in, this is the hidden knowledge. This is the hidden knowledge that we weren't ready for in the Garden of Adam and Eve. We broke our innocence. So if we jump to accessing these records, it's very much like the Garden of Eden story, where we were innocent and then we accessed this knowledge that we weren't mature enough for. I'm getting that feeling of the Garden of Eden. So anyway, my neighbour's being too noisy, so I'm going to have to stop this here. So everything in the universe can be measured in divine hertz frequency. We've been looking at the 8th dimension today, so that's pretty cool, blimey stuff. And I will basically do a part 2 for this reading because it's so meaty. So when my neighbours' contractors calm down a bit. So until part 2, hopefully you'll hang in there with me and just have a look what this is all about, because this is some pretty deep energy work here. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.